Hello and welcome to Qsports. I'm Amudu Gajaga and thank you for joining us. We're talking about the World Cup qualifiers 2026 for Africa. Gambia is one of those countries who will be playing in just 2 days' time on the 16th against Burundi, and the game is going to be played in Tanzania, Dar es Salaam. We'll also be looking at the other fixture that the Gambia had a few days later on the 20th. They were playing against Cote d'Ivoire. And in that World Cup qualifiers, there have been some interesting news. All the players currently are in Tanzania, according to the Gambia Football Federation media team, who are on the ground concerning this particular match. Also looking at the team selection, Coach Tom Sanford had a press conference and where he talked about the omission of certain players and the inclusion of certain players. The press also asked him some questions. We'll be hearing that part as well. The Gambia Football Federation First Division League has kick-started with some fascinating matches from Friday, Saturday and on Sunday. Across the weekend, there were some very interesting matches, but a highlight will be the game between Brikama United and Wa Banjul. We'll also be looking at some Naritan football. The league final in Manjai wasn't ended, or it had to be replayed because darkness crept in because of a prolonged penalty shootout and the game didn't start on time. Obviously, it has to be replayed now on Friday between Ramdan FC and Koroli Central. It ended 1-1 in full time. Finally, we'll be also looking at cycling. There are some Gambian cyclists who are training ahead of a competition in Senegal, and as well, they've talked about some of the challenges that they had when it comes to registering for international competitions and even going outside the Gambia for competitions. The lack of support, the lack of funds, especially from the government. All that on tonight's Qsports. But first, let's talk about the Gambia national team, the Scorpions. Coach Tom Sanford on Friday announced his squad where he's expected to play 2 matches in the World Cup qualifiers. First against Burundi. The game is going to be played in a neutral venue in Tanzania, in Dar es Salaam. And also, a few days later, they'll be playing against Cote d'Ivoire. So it's a double leg World Cup tie for the Gambia lined up. Well, Tom Sanford, with the 23-man squad, he has unveiled all 23 players, according to the Gambia Football Federation, are currently in camp. Pictures of them emerge on social media, precisely on the Gambia Football Federation Facebook page. And this includes one Mamadou Bajo. Mamadou Bajo is one of the midfielders who played and had a very good tournament for the Gambia in the FIFA Under-20 World Cup. Well, for Tom Sanford, he made some of these comments during the press conference when Amadou Tamba, our very own Amadou Tamba at Q Radio, asked him some questions.
Yeah, thank you very much for your question. We spoke with Besiktas and we spoke also with Omar Colley. Yesterday was the last contact with Omar Colley, and he assured that he will be ready to play for us. He has some problem with his knee, but is a result of playing on artificial grass in Norway. Knees are sensitive for that, but he assured he will be ready for us next week. Yeah, first of all, I think the players you mentioned are really doing well. I follow them very close. But we have chosen to have Badamossi, who was crucial in our qualifiers against Congo Brazzaville. Hassan Cisse, who is a regular and who's doing also very well in Saudi Arabia. And actually, we have also Moussa Barrow in our squad who can play offensive. The reason that Youssoufa Ndiaye and Ali Sowe are not there is very clear. We called them up both for the previous matches, and several times they didn't show up or they had an excuse not to come. And we need to have players we can rely on. When we call up a team, we cannot have last-minute cancellations. We need to be sure that we can count on the team. So the other players, the young players, you mentioned, who are performing well in Hungary, in England for Doncaster, Lamine Diallo in Algeria, we are following them. But naturally, in a squad of 23, we cannot only invite offensive players. We need the goalkeepers, defenders, midfield players, and wingers and strikers. So, and we thought that with Badamosi, Asan Sisi, and Musa Barrow, we have 3 options for the central striking position, and that must be enough in the selection of 23.
Thank you so much, Coach. Congratulations for unveiling your squad. I just want to say, you have been hit by injury on top players that are missing in this campaign. How will it affect your World Cup?
Yeah, we are not happy. Ibu Touré, who is a regular on the left wing back, and we miss Yankuba Minte. Very well in the last game. He played first against Guinea-Bissau a year ago, and then last game against Congo Brazzaville. And he's doing well for Feyenoord. So we really were hoping that both players, together with Sulman Mare, who is the last 5 in our national team, with his intelligence, with his way of playing, a player is unique in our selection. So these 3 players are really missed in the team, and naturally it affects. We make our team stronger. On the other side, I have full confidence in players, the replacements we called up, and I'm sure that the players who will get the opportunity and to represent the country, they will do everything to bring the right results.
Well, that's Coach Tom Sanford there, talking about some of the players he has selected, some who are injured and others who are not invited. Well, he mentioned about Yusuf Njai, who is one player who is not invited this time. Another player is Ali Sow, and he said the reasons were because those players, in terms of commitment for him, they are not committed because he invited them in the last few matches and they didn't show up. And some of those players would give injuries as excuses. So that's something that the public would question always when it comes to the team selection, especially in the case of Ali Sow, who has been overlooked many, many times recently. He was part of the team in certain qualifiers, 1 or 2, he featured. But as Coach Ramsanfir there, talking about his squad, currently the players are in camp, and they had their first training session ahead of the tie against Burundi, which is going to be on Thursday. They will play the first World Cup qualifier for 2026. And 4 days later, they will play against Cote d'Ivoire, the host of the Africa Cup of Nations 2023. And it's going to kickstart in January 2024. And Gambia is going to be in Yamoussoukro, where they will be playing some very interesting encounters there, and they're in the same group with Senegal. But this is about the World Cup qualifiers. Let's go talk about the Gambia Football Federation First Division League. It has kick-started, and there were some very, very fascinating games. But we'll focus on Brikama United and Wabanjul. The game ended 1-1 in Brikama. It was Wabanjul who scored first, stunned Brikama in the 9th minute. And late in the game, in the 89th minute, Brikama got an equalizer. And it was a memorable debut for Sankung Jaju. Let's get this. It was a debut to remember for Sankung Jaju, who scored in the 89th minute from outside the box to give Brikama United a point against Wabanjul, when it seemed the jinx of draws between the two sides was about to end. The teams had previously said 8 drawn matches. Sankung was excited to score on his debut.
Because my first game, first year I play division.
I am very happy to score a goal in my first competitive match in the top division. I had this feeling that I would score prior to the match. My goal wasn't a surprise. I hope I will score many more goals. Wabanjul stunned Brikama United in the 9th minute when Pa Asan Diouf scored a header from Ibu Kamara's perfect delivery from a free kick. Brikama had quickly settled into the game and were dominating shortly before conceding. Musa, a first-team trainer for Wabanjul, says how close they came to snatching all 3 points.
Comme so ko sété definitely ñun dañ dem bé almost win nañ jël nañ 3 points
But so ko said that
We were almost winning, but eventually conceded. It's our first game of the season, so sharing the points is not bad. Brikama United coach Sirif Jallo says his side played well and their target is to win the league.
It's just the beginning. We were 1 goal down early. We conceded a goal very early minutes. But it's a fine game. It's a good game, though. Yeah, our target is this year. We want to be the champions. That's my target. I want to be the champion this year.
And do you think this is achievable?
Of course.
There were matches across other venues. Champions Real de Banjul defeated Fortune 2-0, Greater Tomorrow 2, Armed Forces 1, BST Galaxy 0, Walidan 0, Banjul United 0, Samga 1, Steve Biko 0, Team Rhino 2, Marimo Park Food 1, TMT 2, Bombada 0, Falcons 1 completes the results. With many teams having strengthened their squads, football fans are looking forward to an exciting campaign. The GFF First Division League there, that's week 1, March day 1, and also we've seen some results there, especially for the champions Real de Banjul, who got up to a fine start, beating Fortune by 2-0. Now let's head to talk about Nawetan football. A league final was played in Manjai on Saturday, and this was between Ramdan and Kololi Central. After a 1-1 draw in regulation time, it took a prolonged penalty shootout where all 20 players, 10 for each side, were involved. That is the exception of 2 players because it completes the list of players 11 v 11, and some of these 10 players who took the penalties, obviously there are 2 who missed out and darkness crept in, so the game or the teams couldn't be separated. Let's watch it. A prolonged penalty shootout which saw 20 players, 10 from each team, taking their kicks was not enough to separate Kololi Central and Ramdan after a 1-1 draw in normal time. Sana Drame scored the equalizer to force the game to penalties. A Kololi Central defender had tried to guide the ball towards his own goal, only for Sana to intercept and poke the ball into the net. Kololi Central started off well with a beautiful passing game, and it was no surprise when Alassana Jallo scored with a volley after a free kick to give them the lead. The match had many stoppages due to a combination of injuries and delaying tactics by both sides. However, there was also good football on display by both sides, with Kololi dominating for the greater part of the game. Ramdan had more possession in the latter stages of the game, leading to an equalizer, thus forcing what seemed like a never-ending, pulsating penalty shootout. All the penalty takers scored, with the exception of the 2 goalkeepers, who both put their shots wide. The final is rescheduled to be replayed on Friday, 17th November 2023, at the same venue, the Manjai football field. Fans of both teams will hope that darkness does not descend for a second time before getting a result. Well, we hope that Friday there is going to be a winner and there will be separation between these 2 sides, Ramdan and Kololi Central. Very exciting match, some very entertaining football, but on the results, it ended 1-0 and then the penalty shootout. Of course, couldn't separate them because it was dark already, and hopefully Friday there is going to be a winner. Now let's talk about cycling in the Gambia, and some of these cyclists, they ride their bicycles all the way from this part of the country, the Greater Banjul area, all the way to Brikama and up to the border in Dar es Salaam, and then comes back again. 65 kilometers sometimes 45 kilometers, and sometimes they go as far as Fonyi and back to the Combos again, more than 100 kilometers. They're gradually training because they're expecting to take part in an international competition in Senegal on invitation. But they share their challenges. Some of them are finance, some of them are also when it comes to the bicycle itself. They find it very difficult to get some very good bikes, racing bikes, to get into competitions and represent the Gambia. And also sometimes, even when it comes to taking part in international competitions. We spoke to Usman Jatta and he spoke to us in Mandinka about some of their challenges.
Exercise ni kumayata bakele follow kakele pro
any competition nata asatara no be featuring pour ka mabe pour competition kanan terendi me alon ko mbitaje ente ku katano la je so wala nan ka ke every week nka train na train ka ke every Saturday Sunday but nka lo Sunday kam back dimanche kam back pour ka train so but most of the time na so Sunday training nka distance men cover na doyaringo waka ke 75 kilometers lete na every Sunday so na highest well, most of the time nka tala for phone kamurna wo kanta 150 sometimes 160 120 130
okay nyimbe alka boron ni segulol la pedalo mi am koy mari ka forcer le so ala ko ni comme energy nyindu ngaka bol mun dole train ya sabu energy so tata bam fo
yeah abe tara na da train ni wala ka energy dina ka dun ka be pedal ni segulol la amon so ne anak bon ka be pedal ni segulol la ka be pedal ni segulol la ya energy ni kay mom ka energy boni dame wala trainti animari kam ni domo la domo fengol ni la min fengol so e bo len lonna wajala no ni tara train na te batandi la fana yet mbe prepare akane pour que competition ni mabe membe Sénégal dobe janne wo mo bara farafene la community la programme multi ye wala ndi by school be jele so but the main one warama fa ngombe même plan ka wala Sénégal tanyinti ta wo fana mba ko no be train ka wala fana kamate mbake pour se mabe no Sénégal tanyinto but na kebal fana be do ko kanne beteke ne president wala la do ko nyoli be do ko kanne pour be kodo sot la nyame pour membe sa mano la je ya but wo competition wala fana mu sembe ma bate yeah wala mun na main problem ti because ne ajibe na last championship oni kabra botawla championship man na keno kotake follow because kebal be do ko kanne sutoni tilo pour ba jela kodo sot nyame pour que championship oni londi ka murni nan kotake amon keno ni nata korosi kata bantala bankol kam competition la jama kadan Sénégal jannata na tajam na finto na jamfo mo Sénégal jannati adum men kam batande je fanato na fintol to wala man saykul kendol soto na saykul man saykul kendol soto ne na saykul jiba ne nimme ka benje ne na saykul jibe e ka tara fata jamal ben tema na saykul man kilin ni ya korose okay wo kam batande baba kele anim fana no kodo fana la buka soto financially pour membe bonde la jankan samba outside country to invitational canal wata invitational kabona Burkina Faso le Cameroon nyol akabona ne fo Morocco ya dawdal Africa dan invitational canal bari ko dole bu ko soto mention samano woto na kebal ka katale nyawo nyang bari ko do bu ko soto so mbe man sakunda dan la menna anin no minister of sport wala ko ye bulo dum tol fanal koto anin sport koto mo men yalan ko no ko do ka kela problem moti pour kata Gambia to.
Well, we're talking there about cycling and some of the challenges that they faced when it comes to representing the Gambia in international competitions, especially when it comes to finance. Away from cycling, we will return back to the Gambia's national team, the Scorpions, the selection the coach has made, and with the addition of Mamadou Bajo. We'll take a short break, and then after the break, we will pick your calls and talk to you about what do you make of the team selection, and also we will ask you the question about what do you make of Mamadou Bajo's inclusion in the squad. He's a youngster who plays for the Gambia under-20 team in the World Cup in Argentina. That's the under-20 World Cup, and prior to that also the Africa under-20 Championship. Also, he was an integral player in that team. We'll take a short break.
Qsel mooy suñu boss. Qsel mooy suñu boss. Qsel mooy suñu boss. Soru. Go. Ebe dawa full network suda tili. Qsel. Ni lafta diamla wati jamala mune diata. Qsel. Most reliable network jumala keta wati. Qsel. Wo quality man nyon soda jam pona manke Qsel. Hani be wulo ni farole kono walante be bakono jala fayola network ko se taria. Qsel suñu boss. Ñu fi njëkk indi 3G ñu dellu taxi 4G plus and now we bring you 5G. 5G. First and only 5G provider. Itella follow adi doron nesa keno. Gambia bela nyon tawo fele Qsel. Ko fasun tawo buka busi Qsel. Itella molti milka kukutol nati Gambia. Qsel meta lori la kilianol yele imanyina amanda wala itella ka quality dila dadi ma itelle silo wala wodol mume be keno ma. Qsel suñu boss. Suñu boss. Suñu boss. Suñu boss. One next solo be bambandi Qcell. Suñu boss. Qcell most innovative Qcell. Suñu boss.
Welcome back and thank you very much for joining us. This is Qsports and we're talking about the Gambia's national team, the Scorpions, who have a doubled World Cup qualifier ahead of them. On Thursday, they'll play against Burundi and in 4 days' time, they will play against Cote d'Ivoire. But if you want to join us on the program right now, you can call us on 5050505. That's the number for you to reach us and tell us about what do you think of the squad, what do you think of the selection, and with the addition of Mamadou Bajo, the youngster, for the first time in the Gambia's national team. And there are some players who are missing, some of them due to injury. One notable absentee is Yankuba Minte. So if you want to comment about that. And some of the players who have been selected in goalkeepers, Babukar Gay, Modu Job, Lamin Sar, defenders Omar Koli, who returned from injury. He had a new injury some time ago. He plays his club football for Besiktas. We also look at James Gomez, Buba Sane, Noah Sanko Sunbird, Sidi Janko, Ismail Ajom, and Mohamed Sane. That completes the defense line. And also we can look at players in midfield, Mamadou Bajo, as we said, the youngster, who's been invited as part of the Gambia squad for the first time. Ibu Adams, Hamza Bari, Daud Ngom, Alassane Mane, Jacob Mendy, and Aliou Fodera. For the strikers up front is Ibrahim Akoli, Ablai Jallo, Bamba Sanyang, that's Abdoulaye Sanyang Bambalai, Musa Barrow, Hassan Cisse, and Mohamed Badamosi. Let's complete the squad for this international, very important qualifier, the World Cup 2026. And Gambia will open their campaign against Burundi on Thursday. The game will be played in Tanzania, Dar es Salaam. And after that game, the same venue is going to host the Ivory Coast a few days later. Yes, we got our first caller. Hello.
Yeah, hello.
What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Momodu. I'm calling from CDC.
All right, Momodu. Oh, what are your thoughts about the Gambia's national team? Well, we're going to get our next caller. We were talking about the Gambia's national team, the selection, the coach. We're talking about the omission of some players. The reason why he didn't invite some of them is because of, according to his own assessment, lack of commitment because they were invited before and couldn't be part of the team. And the addition of Mamadou Bajo, youngster from the under-20 squad. Is it the right way for the player? Is fairly too early? Or what do you make of it? Is it a good addition for the Gambia's national team? And also we have to say the return of Sidi Janko, who since the Africa Cup of Nations has missed numerous games. That's the qualifiers. Hello?
Hello, good evening. How are you?
Very well, thank you. What's your name and where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Busumbala.
Okay, and we're talking about the Scorpions. What do you make of the squad?
Yeah, it's good to be contributing. I was just watching the TV and just watching the program. It's good to be having a message. And how are you?
Thank you very much. Appreciated your call.
Yeah, it's good. What I want to contribute. It's good to be having young players in national teams.
Okay.
We need some of the changes. What Senegal was doing, need changes from the national team. Sometimes we have good young players to be able to. It's good sometimes we have a young players as under 20 just to mix them to have it. I think this is important.
Okay, thank you.
So we have only these times of players. Some of the times we have new faces, but it's good to be promoting our own young players at the national team. It's good. It's encourageable. Sometimes we give them space to use them their talent. So I appreciate it.
Okay.
So I appreciate it to be having certain changes for the national team. It's good. We need to give them chance to young players to become a national team. I think this is a good move.
Thank you very much for your call.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes, he said it's a good thing to be giving youngsters the opportunity to be part of the national team, because teams like Senegal have done it and it's kind of paying off. And the Gambia national team, we're talking about Sidi Janko. Sidi Janko also was a player who was part of the AFCON team, but immediately after the AFCON, Gambia played numerous qualifiers in which he was not part of. Well, he's back in the squad. Can he boost the performance of the team? Well, he plays as a defender for young boys. We watch him in the Champions League, and he had some very good performances. He and Ibu Koli are all in the same team. They play for young boys in Switzerland. So the Gambia national team, the Scorpions, they face Burundi on Thursday, and 4 days later they'll play against Cote d'Ivoire. Both matches will be played in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, because Burundi host us the first game and they choose that venue. Gambia also will be using the same venue for their home game against Cote d'Ivoire, playing away from home. It's something that Gambian football fans have to grapple with from last year onwards. The stadium is still not fit to host international matches. Well, I'm afraid that's all we have time for on tonight's Qsports. Thank you very much for watching. Join us next week at the same time as we bring you more sports. Thank you.